Welcome to our second session of the Life Sciences BC Invest in the West conference presented by Amplitude Ventures. If you are joining us for the first time now, the companies represented in this session and the previous ones are all SMEs who have participated in the Life Sciences BC Investor Readiness Program. These groups of presenters are from mixed sectors representing medical devices and technologies. I'd now like to welcome back to the stage William Burrows, Life Science BC's Director of Business Operations and Programs, who has led the SMEs through the IRP program. Over to you, William.
Thank you, Wendy. Yes, welcome back everybody to this second session of the IRP pitches and the third session of today's Invest in the West presented by Amplitude Ventures event. Again, my name is William Burrows and I'm responsible for business operations and programs at Life Sciences BC. For those who are just joining in this session, a bit of an update or an overview of the Investor Readiness Program. LSBC runs an IRP program annually, and we are in our second year. The program is made possible with the support of the NRC IRAP group, and it's a privilege today to have this year's companies pitching to you. The IRP pairs early stage companies with EIR mentors for 6 months of coaching, which is complemented by education sessions, peer-to-peer feedback discussions, conferencing and networking opportunities, and pitch presentations. The pitch presentations culminate the program, and that is what we're here today to see. The application call for the IRP happens each June, and the program runs from October to March. Please watch LSBC's social media and newsletters for the 2023 invite. As Wendy mentioned, there are 2 sessions of the IRP pitches today. This is the second session representing companies from the medical device and technology subsectors. Our first pitch presentation today is from 4M Biotech. 4M Biotech is a Canadian biotechnology company specializing in infection prevention and management. The company's flagship product is Gelderm, an infection detection wound dressing. Gelderm was initially conceived at Harvard Medical School by Dr. Mohsin Akbari and has been developed in collaboration between the University of Victoria and 4M Biotech. With funding from NRC IRAP, the Canadian military, and the Michael Smith Foundation, 4M Biotech is seeking additional investment to finalize preclinical studies. Presenting for 4M Biotech is Dr. Shapir Sheghani. Dr. Shapir Sheghani is a medical doctor, serial entrepreneur, and the CEO of 4M Biotech. Over to you, Dr. Shapir.
Thank you, William. Just starting to share my screen here. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Shapur. I am the CEO of 4M Biotech. And thank you, William, for the introduction. As William said, we are a Canadian company specializing in developing advanced sensing technology for infection detection and management. I'm going to introduce our flagship product called Gelderm to you today. Wound care is an overlooked but growing problem. About 2% of the global population experience a non-healing wound in their lifetime. This percentage is as high as 15 to 30% in people who have diabetes, obesity, and in the elderly. About a quarter of people who stay at long-term care facilities experience a non-healing wound. And up to about half of all healthcare interactions involve some sort of a wound. Wound care is also very expensive. Healthcare systems spend billions of dollars on wound management, and therefore a cost-saving solution is at high demand. The reason for these high costs and devastating complications is infection. In about every 30 seconds, unfortunately, a person loses a limb due to infection complications. And so because of this, the current practice standards requires that patients visit a clinician every day. You can imagine how this is inconvenient for the patients and their families, time-consuming for the clinicians, and taxing on the healthcare systems. There has to be a better solution to monitor wounds than having to manually remove a bandage to look under and look for infection. We think that solution is GelDerm. GelDerm is a smart dressing. It has sensors embedded in it that are sensitive to infection, and they change color upon infection. This provides a simple and elegant solution. It's very easy to understand. Color change equals infection. This color change is also reversible, providing a mechanism to monitor the progress of healing when the wound goes through treatment. And best of all, these sensors can be embedded into a variety of different dressing bodies. Although this color change is easily identifiable by the eye, we have also developed an app to increase the objectivity, add a layer of objectivity, and also because we understand the importance of telehealth and home monitoring systems in the coming years. Overall, GelDerm improves patient care because it provides an early infection detection mechanism. It reduces the time that clinicians have to spend to monitor for wound infections. It enables untrained individuals to remotely and autonomously monitor their wounds while providing a low-cost manufacturing solution. Our business model is based on licensing. Instead of having to compete with large manufacturers, a licensing business model allows us to use their current distribution channels, use the current economies of scale, and reduce the costs. And also they have global penetration. We have been in conversation with several of these large manufacturers, and what we have learned is that they're very interested in a solution that can be integrated into their existing product lines, which is why we have spent a lot of time and effort creating a scalable manufacturing solution that allows depositing these sensors into a variety of different dressing bodies. We are protecting this technology by strong patents and IP. In fact, we have a patent dating back to 2017, and we are just about to file a new PCT for our new improvements in the coming weeks. We are seeking $450K in investment as a first tranche. This takes us through the phase 1 of clinical trials, which provides a strong clinical validation and increases the valuation of the company significantly. The second tranche is estimated to be $650K. We anticipate to be revenue positive in 2024 with an attractive exit by 2027. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shapour.
Thank you.
Our next pitch is from L9 Bioscience. L9 Bioscience provides patients with safer, cheaper, and more effective medicines. Presenting for L9 Bioscience is Gil Schneider. Gil was with Fortune 500 company Aramark Corporation for a total of 19 years as vice president. He founded a business which 7 years later he sold to Aramark. He then entered the securities industry and co-founded 5 capital pool corporations, which IPO'd on the TSX Venture Exchange. In 2019, he co-founded L9 Bioscience, which is currently at the R&D stage with an exciting advanced molecular drug delivery technology. The floor is yours, Gil.
Good morning. I'm Gil Schneider, CEO of L9 Bioscience. Do you know what the third leading cause of death is after heart disease and cancer? Would you have guessed that it's prescription drugs? Yes, prescription drugs, states the U.S. National Institute of Health. The NIH goes on to say around half of those who died had taken their drugs correctly. The other half died to too high a dose, which became toxic. This represents 16 million deaths and 40 million hospitalizations from year 2000 to today. L9 has the solution for this very serious pain problem. through its patented technology that changes the molecular delivery of drugs so that it can greatly increase the gastric absorption or effectiveness while substantially reducing the harmful toxic side effects. One product test showed an increase in bioavailability by 1,800%. The L9 technology has the ability to create a net new drug for which we have coined and trademarked a new term, an RX identic, which is different from a generic and can be repatented. This represents a $61 billion market opportunity. The American Medical Association stated that pharmaceutical companies spend between $1 and $2 billion on each new drug. L9 has already formulated an RX identic pharmaceutical drug, which is ready to be validated, patented, and commercialized by licensing. Again, different from a generic. The originator drug was selling over $1 billion annually for 20 years. Our drug is formulated with 9 times less active pharmaceutical ingredient, which means a lot less toxicity. The dosage is reduced from 50 milligrams to 30, which again means less toxicity. The effectiveness increased so that the drug only needs to be prescribed twice a week rather than every second day. Our priority drug targets are initially 4 drugs whose patents expired in 2020, the combined revenue of which in 2019 was $4.5 billion. The L9 technology has unlimited growth potential as we go after drugs whose patents have expired, drugs which have failed FDA approval, and drugs which can be repurposed to treat a different medical indication. These drugs can be developed as RX identics, which can be patented. L9 has a strong and experienced founder team. I was with the Fortune 500 company, Aramark Corporation, for a total of 19 years as vice president. I founded my own business, which after 7 years, I sold to Aramark. I then entered the securities industry and co-founded 5 capital pool corporations, which IPO'd on the TSX Venture Exchange. Our co-founder, Dr. Brazos Minshew, has formulated a portfolio of 10 RX nutraceuticals and 1 pharmaceutical drug that have today in total sold over $1 billion. He has now reformulated this portfolio as 2.0 versions for L9. We will L9 them to make them much more efficacious. Our CFO, David Ayanoglu, is an M&A executive with senior roles at OpenText and KPMG. We have highly acclaimed mentors standing with us as advisors. Dr. Leslie Esford, on the board of directors of the Canada Nanomedicine Centre of Excellence. Ms. Norma Sebastian, past senior management role at Merck Canada for 28 years, is our mentor selected by Life Sciences for L9 under their Investor Readiness program. We also have advisors such as a Yale University professor of medicine and a medical researcher at the Mayo Clinic. You may be thinking about the length of time it takes to get a drug to market. Our business model is to focus purely on reformulating and patenting drugs, which has a projected 6-month timeline to commercialization via licensing. We are bootstrapping L9 and so far have funded the company's development ourselves on an as-needed basis. We are seeking $500,000 on a pre-money valuation of $5 million. The funds will be used to replicate our R&D, which we expect to augment by non-dilutive Canadian government matching grants. We are encouraged by the acquisition that we've seen recently, such as Gilead acquiring a life sciences company for $4.5 billion and Pfizer acquiring Toronto drug developer Terralium for $2.3 billion. We are a battle-tested team. We're passionate. We're committed. We've done it before, which de-risks your investment. We will have our first RX product ready for commercialization in 6 months. L9 Bioscience, providing patients with safer, cheaper, and more effective medicines.
Thank you, Gil. Our third medical device technology pitch is from Rostrum Medical Innovations. Rostrum Medical is commercializing a groundbreaking technology that simplifies complicated ventilation to improve patient outcomes. Presenting for Rostrum is Nathan Ayubi. Nathan is Chief Operating Officer, Rostrum. Nathan completed his studies at UBC with a Bachelor of Science and UVic in Project Management. He is the co-developer of VQM group of products and has been with Rostrum since the inception in 2009. Nathan is closely involved with the Medical Advisory Board and clinicians globally and oversees all aspects of the company's operations. Over to you, Nathan.
Thanks, William. Pleasure to be here this morning to introduce you to our I guess you'd say, flagship product. Let me make sure the screen sharing is working here. Oh, there we go. So I'm here to introduce you our VQM pulmonary health monitor. We're simplifying complicated ventilation. We are introducing a groundbreaking technology that's going to simplify ventilation. I think it's a very well-known topic these days with COVID. We're addressing a very large market opportunity, 3.5 billion. We have a proven technology which has been validated through clinical studies. We do have Health Canada approval. We have a strong team that boasts successful exits in the medtech sector. We've got a team of strong key opinion leaders, global commercialization and manufacturing expertise. And we're seeking to close out around 5 million Canadian. That's going to help us accelerate our market entry, ramp up production, and get into revenue growth this year. So finding the safest settings to avoid lung injury in ventilated patients is a complicated process. Mechanical ventilation is a life-saving therapy which aims to ensure that clinicians or patients receive oxygen, but it's a fine balance of providing enough ventilation without damaging lungs or affecting heart performance. And finding this balance is a complicated process that has not been adequately addressed, as each patient is different. Current technologies are only provide partial information, often require extensive training and other technologies to ensure that they're placed directly. Our system is the first system that will provide both heart and lung information at the bedside to help clinicians properly manage their patients. Our system connects with any ventilator in under 10 seconds. Devices do not do, as they are typically proprietary to their own ventilator system. We are providing 4 key measurements at the bedside, non-invasively and in near real time. Those are shunt fraction, which is essentially blood flow being pumped by the heart that does not participate in gas exchange, so wasted blood flow. And this is often elevated in sick patients. So for example, patients with COVID, which is well known, they'll have an elevated shunt fraction. And the goal of therapy is to reduce this. Currently, the only way to get this measurement is through a catheter that goes into the heart, and you're able to get blood gas data and do a manual calculation at the bedside. We also provide dead space, which is the amount of air being put into the lungs that does not participate in gas exchange. Again, this is something that's elevated in sick patients. Which is the blood being pumped by your heart that actually does participate in gas exchange. So this is a critical parameter that clinicians are trying to maximize. And then functional residual capacity, which is the air left in your lungs at the end of a breath. In sick patients, this is greatly reduced. So monitoring how this trends over time gives an indication as progression of disease states in patients on ventilators. Our system aims to optimize the workflow. So current workflows require a do, wait, check, respond scenario that can take quite a bit of time, as attending physicians typically only do rounds in ICUs. So we can end up waiting 4 hours or so before the effects of an intervention are actually understood by the clinician. We provide these measurements at the bedside in near real time. So there's a much shorter time period for the clinician to respond to those interventions on the ventilator. I mentioned we're providing all the key data on a very simplified graphical user interface. So everything is just at the bedside. We've got both heart and lung data all on an easy to understand graphical user interface. The market it's a very large market. So we've got two pieces to our device. We've got a capital piece, which is our monitor, and then we've got a single patient use component, which is a reoccurring revenue component. So the capital market equipment, we estimated over $3.5 billion. The reoccurring revenue market is over $500 million a year, which is a very attractive market. Our competition, so as I mentioned, these are our key competitors. Most of them are actually ventilator manufacturers themselves. Their technologies are proprietary to their systems. Our system connects with any ventilator. We also are the only ones that provide full suite of parameters. In a conversation I had with some RTs at Royal Columbian Hospital who have access to these technologies, I asked them, you've got access to this technology, so what is it about our device that's of interest to you? And it's having access to both sets of data, not just what's happening with the ventilation, which is what the focus is on, but also understanding how that impacts what's happening to the heart. So to provide a key differentiator of our device. As I mentioned, we do have Health Canada clearance. We received that late last year, and we're seeking funds to really ramp up our commercialization efforts here in Canada. We are expecting to submit our regulatory packages for the CE and FDA in Q2 of this year, and we're anticipating a review time of between 120 and 180 days. We have strong ties in Asia, so we're planning to begin that process of getting clearance in China in the second half of this year. We have a 3-phased commercialization strategy plan. We're currently in phase 1. We are engaging key opinion leaders here in Canada and working through the process of getting our early key reference sites. We are actively engaged with Toronto General, Vancouver, Royal Columbian, and Richmond Hospital. We also have sites in the US currently using our device. And we aim to get into commercialization this year in Canada. We're targeting revenues of over $50 million USD by the end of 2025 and a gross margin of 65%. There's a big portion of our revenue is generated through the reoccurring revenue stream of our blender, as we anticipate 1 or 2 blenders are going to be used cumulatively as we get more and more systems into the field. As I mentioned, so this is a breakdown of the use of the funds that we are seeking to close out. So most of it is going towards the ramp up of getting goods to produce and driving or building up our marketing and sales departments to really get revenue going this year in Canada and as we move into next year in the US and EU. So we're seeking to close, again, 5 million Canadian with looking for 3 to 5 exit in 3 to 5 years. So as our board of directors, we've got a lot of experience there. So Auni Yubi, Scott Phillips from Starfish, other individuals that are in the tech, and strategic advisors, including Steve Flymail, who's quite also well known in the medtech industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Our 4th pitch for this session is from Total Flow. Total Flow Medical's mission is to improve the length and quality of life for heart surgery and life support patients, one device at a time. Presenting for Total Flow is Hilary Pierce. Hilary's background is in engineering, product development, and program management, with key experience working in startups, bringing structural heart implants from initial concept to commercial approval. Over to you, Hilary.
Thanks so much, William. So Thank you again. I'm Hilary Pierce, CEO of Total Flow Medical, and we're a Vancouver-based medical device company with products to eliminate injury and death caused by equipment used to keep patients alive when they need the use of a heart-lung machine. So it's really in this room that our story began, with our perfusionist inventors, who is the person in the top right corner of the screen running these heart-lung machines daily. And they came up with a solution to save their patients' limbs. So there are two use cases for our devices. The first is for patients requiring life support, so such as seriously ill COVID patients called ECMO, and the second is for use in heart surgery called cardiopulmonary bypass. Our first product is a cannula, which is a tube used in heart surgery. So looking at the problem, when patients are hooked up to a heart-lung machine, cannula are inserted in the femoral artery and vein to transfer blood from the patient to the equipment to facilitate extracorporeal circulation. These cannula can interrupt blood flow in the patient's leg, leading to ischemic reperfusion injury and limb ischemia. So at a minimum, extended hospital stay, and in the extreme, amputation and even death. The burden of cost of this problem is currently over $1 billion per year, and surgeons can't actually predict who's going to be affected, which means to us that every single one of the 100,000 adult US patients need a solution. Currently, the only rescue or preventative option for this problem in the US is called distal limb perfusion. It's essentially a MacGyver-style fix where the surgeon inserts a pediatric catheter in the femoral artery distal to the cannula, the original femoral cannula. And then they splice it into the bypass circuit in order to provide the leg with dedicated blood flow. So this requires a second device, a second insertion site, and repair, compounding the risk of bleeding, infection, and vascular damage, which then that surgeon would also need to address. Many patients can't receive a DLP due to the emergent situation in which they're being treated. Many surgeons aren't comfortable with the added risks accompanying this procedure. And when it is used, a third of patients still experience issues. Cost for this additional procedure is pulled out of these in-hospital patients' procedural DRG codes. So our patented technology will replace the current standard of care, which is causing the issue. Designed by clinicians, it's easy to use and integrates within existing clinical workflow. So functioning as a standard femoral cannula while providing surgeons with the option of dedicated blood flow to the limb with the activation of our patented features. So we have two product offerings with two use cases. And we're currently developing our arterial cannula to be launched in the US for surgical use following the 510(k) pathway. As accessories to larger procedures in each use case, our products are covered under existing DRG procedural coding. So our target market is every patient who needs a femoral cannula. The global total addressable market for femoral cannula is an estimate $1 billion per year. And the total US market is $325 million for both of our products and use cases. Both of these markets are projected to continue growing in the coming years. So minimally invasive surgery is one of the fastest growing surgical markets. And ECMO, with its increased use in treating both heart attack and even currently COVID patients. So we plan to partner with an established distributor while approaching these industry leaders in the cannula market at key development stages, none of which have a solution to this problem in the US, and we would offer a tuck-in product to their existing portfolios. We know of 4 transactions in the specialty cannula market in the last few years. So what's really great is that LivaNova, one of those 4 major strategics, is actually paving the way for us. Biflow is the only cannula-based solution to this problem and recently received CE mark, but it's still not available in the US. It is available in Canada, and we've been able to hear clinician feedback on it, including some serious concerns with its technically challenging insertion technique and the fact that the leg flow feature is a must-use. Both of these aspects have been addressed and differentiate our products. So we believe we're unique and better because our solutions have been designed by the clinicians who use them daily. They're elegant, simple, easy to use, and because we've built a nimble team that can deliver. So our board includes both BC and US-based expertise in fundraising, scaling growth, marketing, clinical affairs, and commercialization of medical devices. Our advisors include entrepreneurs and medical experts. And the team that will deliver this product is in place. Combined, we bring expertise in engineering, product development, manufacturing, regulatory, and clinical trials, having brought multiple medical technologies from initial concept to commercial approval, with strong support in finance, corporate, and intellectual property law. Revenue for just our arterial device and surgical use case is projected to be around $33 million 4 years post-commercialization. And to give you a quick highlight of where we've been and where we're headed, Total Flow was incorporated in 2019. In 2020, we established proof of concept with rough prototypes and dug deep into de-risking the business for our first financing while being supported by some very strong local mentorship programs. In June, we closed an oversubscribed pre-seed financing and completed all 3 objectives of this financing 3 months ahead of schedule and under budget. With the addition of some non-dilutive support, our management team doubled our deliverables from this first financing and stretched our original 6-month runway to out to 12 months. We have additionally submitted an FDA pre-submission package and met to discuss our proposed reg pathway and test plans with the FDA in December. Following this meeting, we anticipate a clinical trial will not be required prior to FDA clearance. And we are also delighted to have been accepted and promoted into another series of accelerator and leadership programs, which continues to expand both our mentorship and investor networks. So our next seed raise, our current seed raise, will support us through to 510K clearance, followed by an anticipated Series A to support commercial launch and a post-market study mid-2023. So we're currently seeking investment in our seed equity financing of $3.5 million to support us through to FDA clearance. With a recent surge of investment interest, we've actually circled most of the current round, including one well-known private health investor taking 50%. Our anticipated close is mid-April. Our mission is to increase the length and quality of heart surgery and life support patients' lives, one device at a time. Please reach out if you'd like to know more or to join us to save these patients' limbs and lives. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Hilary. Our final pitch for this session and for all the IRP participants for this year is from Voxel Bioinnovations. Voxel is creating human-like cancer tissue models for preclinical drug testing. Their vascularized tissue models allow the reliable study of cytotoxicity and biodistribution of anti-cancer drugs, which ensures that unsuitable drugs are eliminated sooner in the drug development process. This allows drug developers to reduce the need for more costly and time-consuming trials. Presenting for Voxel is the co-founder and CEO, Dr. Carolina Valente. Dr. Valente has a master's in chemical engineering and her PhD in mechanical engineering, where she focused on engineering breast cancer tissue models and on the development of targeted delivery systems to the tumor area. Over to you, Carolina.
Thank you, William. I'm just going to share here my screen. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Dr. Carolina Valente, and I'm the CEO at Voxel. And what we are doing at Voxel is we are developing human-like cancer tissue models. And the problem is quite simple. The problem is the drug development process, in which hundreds of millions of dollars are invested to get drugs from the lab all the way to clinical trials. When they go to clinical trials, the success rate is actually less than 5%. This is highly associated to how drugs are tested. When drugs are tested in the lab, they are tested in very simplistic platforms, and then they are tested in animal models. What we need is a more reliable and complex platforms to test those drugs. Platforms that even have the potential to reduce the number of animal models used in the preclinical testing stage. And that's what Voxel is proposing. Voxel is creating human-like cancer tissue models. So scientists, researchers can test their drug candidates, increasing the confidence and allowing the correct drugs to move to the clinical trial phase. We also have the potential to reduce the number of animal models used. The way that we create these tissue models is with our technology. We combine our high-resolution bioprinter that we have assembled with our software. Our software is our trade secret, our secret sauce, and it creates full blood vessels in the tissues that we are printing. Our printer combined with our software and our proprietary bioinks, that is our printer's cartridge, it's what allows us to create these human-like tissue models with blood vessels, truly mimicking the human body. Our tissue models present the cancer vascular network and allows for scientists to inject anti-cancer drugs in the vasculature and analyze drug distribution in vitro. These tissue models are consistent and reproducible due to our high-resolution bioprinting. What we'll be offering as products is our tissue models as consumables. Right now, we are focused on the development of our breast cancer tissue model, and we'll be moving towards lung, prostate, and ovarian later on. We'll also be selling our bioinks, that is our printer's cartridge, as consumables for people working with tissue engineering. Our bioinks are compatible with other bioprinting technologies out there. And the moment is right now. What we saw is last October, the FDA Modernization Act was a bill proposed to find alternative in vitro testing methods to animal testing. And that's exactly what Voxel is doing. In the drug development process, we fit right here in preclinical testing. At this point, multiple tests are done in those simplistic platforms that I was talking about, and they can be done more reliably in our tissue models. Since the goal with our tissue models is to allow the correct drugs to move forward in the drug development process, holding sooner the incorrect, the unviable drugs, we actually do not require FDA approval. Our market is the in vitro cancer diagnostic market. Our strategy is to be reaching academia, research centers, contract research organizations, and pharmaceutical companies. Our goal is to reach academia and research centers this year. And especially in academia, we know very well that the money is not on that area. But what we find in academia is those KOLs, those key opinion leaders that will allow us to validate our technologies and putting that stamp that we need before going to CROs and pharma later on. To help us to do that, we'll be hiring a business development person and a sales leader this year, and we'll increase our sales team in 2023. Our revenue projection is based on the sales of our tissue models with a 70% margin and our bioink with a 90% margin. In terms of competition, what we see is other preclinical testing techniques out there, including other tissue models. However, none of them actually show the complexity of what we are creating. Even these tissue models are normally just layered of cells. Voxel is really a tissue engineering company. We are really focused on creating human-like tissue models that can provide reliable information. These tissue models, they require to be standard and not add any other parameter of uncertainty in drug testing. Then we have this layer by layer consistency due to our high resolution and precision when printing. Our tissue models include vasculature due to our amazing software. And we are also developing a novel line of proprietary bioinks, including a universal bioink with the capability to print any kind of tissue models out there. And it has only been possible by having an incredible team with extensive experience in tissue engineering, operations, and bioink. Voxel is currently fundraising, and we are seeking $1 million at a $3 million pre-money valuation. And our lead investor is eFund, and we are very glad to have them on board. We have fully committed $550,000 at this point, and we also are eligible for VC tax credits for $3 million this year. This fund is very special for us. It's to put towards validation of our tissue models against animal models to show that we have the capability to reduce even the initial tests done in animal models. eFund, our lead investor, has a comprehensive due diligence report on Voxel, and it's available to send to any investor out there. We also have our data room ready, and we can send you the link if you are interested. We are truly committed to our vision and mission, and our mission is the most important part. We really want to get the correct drugs to clinical trials and to the market, to the hands of people that need it. And I hope you can help us to make this possible. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Carolina. Well, that concludes the IRP SME pitch presentations for the morning half of the Invest presented by Amplitude Ventures event. I'd like to thank all the IRP presenters for showcasing their innovation in companies whilst applying the learnings and development of the past 6 months. Also, a special thank you to the 10 EIRs that were part of the IRP this year for their invaluable coaching and mentoring of the organizations you just heard from. And thank you to the audience for the questions and reaching out to these companies, as well as to those filling in the pitch survey feedback surveys. For closing comments, I'll turn the floor back over to Wendy.
Thank you, William, and thank you to everyone. William and I just want to also acknowledge your leadership on the Life Sciences BC Investor Readiness Program. William puts an extraordinary amount of time in to try and make the experience positive for both the companies and the mentors. So thank you for that, and thank you to NRC IRAP for supporting the program. Once again, congratulations to the presenters on your excellent pitches: Forum Biotech, L9 Bioscience Inc., Rostrum Medical Innovations, Total Flow, and Voxel Bioinnovation. A reminder to all the attendees to check out the digital company guide. The LSBC team has put together a fantastic summary of all of the presenting companies. So you can look at that to get some nice summaries of the companies and a reminder of who is presenting. In addition, we encourage you to reach out to the presenters via the company booths or directly through the platform or through their websites. Our next session is going to be a panel discussion with myself, Kim Klein, the president of Bioscience Association of Manitoba, and Rob Stoddart, the president and CEO of BioAlberta, where we are going to be talking about the life sciences sector in Western Canada. So we hope that you can join us for that. It is scheduled to start at 11:30 PST, which is in about 15 minutes. And once again, thank you to Amplitude Ventures for being the presenter sponsor of this inaugural Invest in the West conference. We look forward to partnering in the future on it. And with that, I will close off this session. Once again, congratulations to our IRP companies, and thank you very much to our IRP mentors. It was a great session to see the pitches. See you soon.